All right, so you want to talk about ASML's earnings,
Yeah.
and you're right to be curious about this one.
Absolutely.
It's way more than just numbers.
Right.
We're talking about, ripples that could redefine the entire chip-making landscape.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how these ASML earnings calls
Yeah.
are really a bellwether for kind of the tech world, and
Totally.
their forecasts kind of give us a glimpse into the future of global technology.
Absolutely. And for anyone who's maybe not familiar, ASML, this is the linchpin of high-end chip manufacturing.
Right.
Without their machines, we're talking less powerful phones.
Mm-hmm.
Stalled AI development.
Yeah.
It's that fundamental.
Extra Pinson.
So
Yeah.
when their projections shift, everyone pays attention.
Yeah, and they hold a near monopoly on extreme ultraviolet lithography,
Right.
EUV for short, which is essential for producing the most advanced chips. So it's this fascinating dynamic where their success or struggle becomes a reflection of the industry's health.
Totally. And right now, it's a real mixed bag. On the one hand, they're exceeding expectations with their newest EUV systems, the NXE.3800E.
Right.
We're talking like a significant leap in throughput,
Yeah.
about 37% better than the previous generation.
And that's critical because it's not just about speed, but about what that speed unlocks.
Yeah.
Increased throughput means producing more chips at a lower cost,
Right.
which is absolutely crucial in a market where the demand for these advanced chips,
Yeah.
particularly for AI applications,
Yeah.
is skyrocketing.
Everyone's clamoring for more power, smaller chips.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like ASML's delivering,
Yeah.
they're even shipping those cutting-edge high-NA systems,
Right.
which I'll be honest,
Yeah.
before this duck dive sounded really futuristic to me.
Yeah. High NA or high numerical aperture, to be precise,
Okay.
is all about pushing the boundaries of miniaturization.
Okay.
These systems are capable of printing features at a resolution of 8 nanometers.
Wow.
Think almost 3 times the transistor density compared to their predecessors.
So more efficient production. Mind-bogglingly small transistors.
Right.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
So why did ASML just slash their 2025 outlook?
Right.
Less revenue, tighter margins.
Yeah.
What's the story there?
That's where the plot thickens.
Okay.
We're seeing a convergence of factors that paint a very, I'd say, nuanced picture of where this industry is heading.
Okay.
One of the biggest ones is the slowdown in China.
Right. Their China sales are expected to drop back to around 20% of total revenue next year.
Yeah.
Still significant,
Right.
but a noticeable dip. Is this just a natural market correction after a period of just like really high demand, or?
It's partly that, but there's a little bit more to it, I think. The
Yeah.
ongoing trade tensions and, the speculation about potential export restrictions from the U.S. are definitely casting a shadow of uncertainty.
So even without concrete actions, ASML is already kind of factoring that geopolitical uncertainty
Their projections.
into their projections.
Absolutely.
Talk about high-stakes chess game.
Exactly. But it's not just China, right?
Okay.
ASML also mentioned that 2 major clients in the logic chip market.
Okay.
They were very careful not to name any names,
Sure.
but they said that they're facing some unexpected technical hurdles.
Okay, now that's interesting.
Yeah.
Can't name any names,
Right?
but are we talking about industry giants potentially like fumbling a major technological leap?
It's definitely a possibility.
Okay.
But what's more important than, speculating on exactly who's facing difficulties
Right.
is understanding what the ripple effect of that is going to be.
Okay.
These delays mean those companies are likely pushing back their timelines for building new factories,
Right.
which directly impacts orders for ASML's machines.
The domino effect.
Kind-
Classic problems in one part of the supply chain
Yeah.
create these waves that are felt throughout the entire industry.
And if that wasn't enough,
Right.
we also have to think about the memory market,
Right.
which is showing signs of recovery.
Okay.
But it's slow and it's uneven. And that's making chip makers hesitant to make any significant investments in new capacity.
So everybody's a little bit apprehensive about making any big moves right now.
Exactly. And that hesitation translates to fewer orders for ASML's machines,
Right.
further contributing to that revised outlook.
Yeah, it seems like even the giants aren't immune to the jitters
Right.
of an unpredictable market.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we've got China's slowdown logic, chip hiccups, and a hesitant memory market.
Right.
It's like trying to read tea leaves in a hurricane.
Yeah.
ASML says long-term, the chip demand is there and their backlog seems to support that.
Yeah.
But are they being overly optimistic, or could we be on the brink of like a supply chain shakeup?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's why everybody is poring over these earnings trying to figure out what's really going on.
So give me the insider perspective here.
Okay.
What's ASML hinting at that they're not explicitly stating?
Well, let's start with the AI factor.
Okay.
Everybody's banking on AI to drive future chip demand. But the question is, will it be enough?
Yeah, is the AI boom potent enough to like override these slowdowns?
It's a powerful force, no doubt, but it's still so early.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you even begin to measure the impact of something like that?
Right.
But you know, it does lead to another really intriguing question.
Hit me.
What if, and this is where things get really interesting,
Okay.
what if these struggles that we're seeing from some of these major players actually create an opening,
Okay.
a power shift?
So I like where this is going.
Right.
A changing of the guard in the chip world.
Exactly. Could these delays and uncertainties be the opportunity that some new players have been waiting for?
Wow.
Or even for existing players to kind of step up and grab a bigger piece of the pie?
So a potential power shift.
Yeah.
What else is on your radar?
Well, you also have to think about the balancing act that ASML is trying to pull off here.
Okay.
They're trying to scale their production to meet what they believe will be this huge surge in demand for these advanced chips. But at the same time, they're having to navigate all of this short-term uncertainty.
So they're planning for a future where their machines are the hottest commodity,
Right.
but also managing the risk of like a near-term slowdown?
Exactly.
That's a tough spot to be in.
It is a tough spot, and their decisions over the next few months, I think, will have ripple effects throughout the entire tech world.
Yeah, because they're in such a unique position.
Absolutely.
Their choices impact everybody.
Yeah, if they don't build enough capacity,
Right.
then that's a bottleneck that could stifle innovation across the board.
But build too much.
Right.
And then they're left holding the bag.
Exactly.
And if the demand doesn't materialize as quickly as they hope.
It's a gamble
Yeah.
with incredibly high stakes.
You know, this whole thing reminds me of something.
What's that?
It's like ASML is saying sky's the limit for the long haul,
Right.
but at the same time, they're revising their outlook down. It's kind of a mixed message.
It is, and I think that seeming contradiction is at the heart of this whole story.
Something else I wanted to touch on, this installed base management revenue stream they mentioned.
Right.
It sounds like they're really leaning on that to offset some of the potential losses from like lower system sales.
Yeah, that's a crucial detail that I don't think a lot of people are really paying attention to.
Okay.
This revenue stream, which is basically things like service contracts and upgrades for the systems they've already sold.
Right.
That's becoming increasingly important for ASML.
Especially given the potential volatility.
Exactly.
And the system sales.
It's not just about selling the machines anymore. It's
Ah.
about selling the entire ecosystem around those machines.
The support, the upgrades they'll package.
Exactly. And they're projecting, healthy double-digit growth in that area for the coming year, which could really help to cushion the blow
Okay.
if their core business does slow down.
So we've unpacked a lot here.
Okay.
China's evolving role, the logic chip challenges, the cautious memory market, the AI wildcard, and now this focus on the installed base. Let's bring it all back home.
Yeah.
What does this all really mean for our listeners?
Well, I think it's important to remember that these aren't just abstract market forces.
Okay.
They have very real consequences for the technology we use every single day.
Exactly. Give it to us straight.
Okay.
What are we talking about here?
If ASML's predictions are accurate, and we do see a slowdown in the production of these advanced chips,
Right.
it could mean a few things.
Like what?
Well, for starters, it could delay the next generation of devices or make them more expensive.
So my dream of a phone that can write a screenplay while folding itself into a paper airplane is on hold.
Well, maybe not on hold,
Okay.
but the timeline might shift a bit.
Okay.
And it's not just about consumer tech.
Right.
The ripple effects extend to things like healthcare,
Oh, yeah.
transportation, energy,
It's everything.
all of these sectors that are relying on these advanced chips for breakthroughs.
Right. A slowdown in chip production could have a domino effect on innovation across the board. And speaking of domino effects, we can't forget the geopolitical implications here either.
Oh, absolutely not. This is a huge part of the story.
ASML is walking a tightrope between the U.S. and China.
Right.
And the future of the entire chip industry is kind of hanging in the balance.
Yeah, the U.S. is putting a lot of pressure on companies like ASML
Yeah.
to limit their engagement with China.
especially when it comes to the most advanced technology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They see China as this strategic competitor, and they're trying to prevent them from gaining an edge.
But at the same time, ASML doesn't want to alienate China either.
Right.
There's a huge market for them.
Huge.
They're caught in the middle of this geopolitical tug-of-war.
Absolutely. And the decisions they make in the coming months could have massive implications.
Not just for the industry, but for the entire global balance of power when it comes to technology.
Exactly.
So for our listeners who want to stay ahead of the curve here,
Yeah.
what should they be paying attention to in the coming months?
I'd say there are a few key things to watch. First, any new developments on the export control front.
Okay.
Will the U.S. impose even stricter restrictions on ASML's dealings with China?
And how will ASML respond?
Exactly. Those are the million-dollar questions.
What else?
Second, keep an eye on how this whole competitive landscape in the logic chip market evolves.
Okay.
Will these companies that are experiencing setbacks be able to get back on track?
Right. And will those setbacks create an opening for their rivals to kind of swoop in and grab market share?
Exactly. It's like a high-stakes game of musical chairs.
Totally. And lastly, the memory market.
Yes.
Will the demand continue this like slow and steady climb?
Right.
Or are we in for another round of volatility?
Because if the memory market takes another nosedive,
Right.
it could send shockwaves through the entire industry.
Okay, so those are the key trends to watch.
Absolutely.
You know, it's interesting. ASML is at the pinnacle of this technology.
Yeah.
And even they are feeling the heat.
Yeah.
If they're uncertain about the future, what does that mean for literally everyone else?
It really highlights just how interconnected this entire industry is.
It's like ASML is this keystone holding everything together.
Right.
And if that keystone starts to wobble even a little bit,
The whole structure is at risk.
to our listeners, buckle up.
It's going to be a wild ride.
But hey, that's what makes this industry so fascinating, right?
There's never a dull moment.
It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, we've given you a lot to digest here.
We have.
But here's the question we keep coming back to.
Okay.
If even ASML, with this near monopoly on this essential technology,
Right.
is feeling the pinch, what does that mean for the future of chip making
Yeah.
and its impact on our like increasingly tech-reliant world?
It's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really does, I think, highlight just how complex this whole thing is, how interconnected the semiconductor supply chain is.
It's not just about ASML's machines, right? It's
Right.
about the raw materials, the software, the specialized talent, the geopolitical landscape.
It's everything.
It's this whole ecosystem.
And it's all kind of happening against this backdrop of, this debate about whether innovation can continue at this pace.
Yeah.
This conversation about ASML and their earnings and their outlook, it really forces us to think about that.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in the hype cycle, especially in tech.
Absolutely.
But like we've seen today, there are always these deeper currents at play that can really reshape the entire landscape in ways that we don't expect.
And those shifts can create challenges, but they also create tremendous opportunity.
Yeah. And speaking of opportunities, one thing I keep thinking about is if even a company like ASML is experiencing uncertainty, could this be the opening that other companies have been waiting for?
It's possible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the potential for a power shift.
Right.
And this could be the catalyst for that.
Yeah.
The companies that are able to adapt quickly to navigate all of this uncertainty and maybe even leverage it to their advantage.
Right.
Those are the ones to watch.
So are we going to see this new wave of innovation?
It's exciting to think about.
Are some unexpected players going to emerge as these major forces in chip making?
Possibly.
It's like the entire industry is kind of holding its breath right now.
Yeah.
Just waiting to see what happens.
Waiting to exhale.
And for us, the everyday person, it really is this reminder that all this technology that we take for granted, it's not guaranteed.
It's easy to forget that.
It is easy to forget
So
that.
it just works.
It really is this result of this very intricate, dance between innovation and economics and geopolitics.
Absolutely.
So the next time your phone takes an extra second to load that video,
Yeah.
maybe it's not just your internet connection.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a tiny little ripple effect of everything that we've been talking about today.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Yeah, those like underlying currents that are shaping the future of technology.
A future that's still being written.
I love that. And on that note, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
I think so.
If you're as fascinated by this as we are,
Yeah.
go do your own deep dive. Explore the companies we've talked about today. Keep up with the latest developments in chip making and see what you discover.
You might just uncover the next big thing.
Until our next deep dive, keep exploring, keep questioning, And as always, thank you for listening.